Yeah, so this is an example of C++ access modifiers and inheritance. I created this example for a tutoring session a couple weeks ago. I thought the example was great, so I wanted to share this example with everyone else. Alright, so here we are. We have the grandparent class. The grandparent class has a public function to share their immigration story, just to add some humor. Maybe the grandparents immigrated from Vietnam over the Pacific Ocean on a raft tied together with their the hair on their back during the middle of a typhoon season. Right, so the grandparents got the immigration story, and anyone can ask the grandparent for this immigration story. The neighbor can ask it. Their child can ask it. Their wife can ask about it. The grandparents are happy to share. Moving on to line 6, we have the parent class. The parent class is publicly inheriting from the grandparent class. So as nothing too special here. The behavior is what you would expect. So the parent is able to share the grandparent's immigration story. The parent also has a protected function to pass down the wealth to their child. Right, so here's where things get a little bit more interesting. The child is doing a protected inheritance from the parent class. The child inherits the grandparent's immigration story from the parent who would inherit it from the grandparent. Child will also inherit the parent's wealth. But the key thing to note here is that the child will only provide the grandparents' immigration story to their children. So the neighbor can't ask the child about the grandparents' immigration story. The neighbor can ask the parent though. The parent was happy to share because it's a public function. It's a public inheritance. And then the grandparent, that's a public function up there as well. So grandparents are willing to share the immigration story. Parents are willing to share the grandparents' immigration story. Child, only to their children. They would not share to a random neighbor. Likewise, the parent would not pass down their wealth to some random person, only to their child, and the child would not pass down their parents' wealth to some random person, only to their children. The child also has a private function. It's their personal diary. It's got some secrets in there that they want to take to the grave. Definitely not letting their kids know about it. So the child's child is the grandchild. It's a private inheritance here in this case. So let's talk through this. The grandchild does inherit the grandparents' immigration story. The grandchild does inherit that, but the story dies with the grandchild because at this point it's a private function because it's a private inheritance. It's no longer a public function, which is at the grandparent level and the parent level. The shared immigration story function is public at both of these two levels. Down here at the child level, it becomes a protected function, and then down here at the grandchild level, the immigration story becomes a private function. On that note, the grandchild also inherits the parent classes. So by parent, I really mean this parent, right? The class literally named parent. So grandchild inherits the parent's wealth, but they won't pass down the wealth to the grandchild's kids. That wealth dies there. And the grandchild never has access to the diary from their parent, which is the child, because that function for publishing the diary is private. So it never gets passed down to the derived class. The derived class meaning the child class. All right. Let's move on to the descendant class. So there's a descendant is doing a private inheritance from the grandchild. By default, if you don't specify the access modifier, it defaults to private inheritance. At this stage, the descendant literally does not know anything about the grandparents' immigration story. The only way the descendant could know is the descendant would have to ask the grandparent right? Just like how a neighbor would ask the grandparent, but the descendant itself himself doesn't have any concept of that function. The descendant doesn't have access to the parent's wealth either, um, and that's really because it's all the inherited functions died with the grandchild due to private inheritance. Let's talk about this class called outsider, right? So let's say he's like a neighbor. So I just kind of want to walk you through this again. The outsider can get the grandparent's immigration story from the grandparent, can get it from the parent, can't get it from the child, can't get it from the grandchild, can't get it from the descendant either. And the outsider can't get the parent's wealth, can't get the child's diary. And that's pretty much all I really wanted to go over. Hopefully you found this useful. If you did, just let me know. I'm a coder by trade, so I'm happy to talk more about this in the comments section. So thank you.